I got married 1 year ago in 2021. I did not have a wedding. In this video, I share 6 reasons why I did not have a wedding, and stay to the end where I share the number 1 reason why I chose not to have a wedding. Hi everyone, I'm Jessica, and I love talking about financial freedom after experiencing burnout early on in my pharmacist career. On this channel, I talk about passive income and simplifying to combat feelings of burnout and stress in your life. I also share openly about my burnout story and how we paid off massive student loan debt while we're pursuing financial independence to retire early. Make sure to watch those videos as well. If you've been following me a while, you know that my husband and I met in 2013. We dated long distance for a couple of years, and then we lived together in Los Angeles before getting engaged in February of 2020. We got married in 2021 with a civil ceremony where it was just the two of us at the ceremony. There was no one else there. There was no live streaming it to anyone else. And it was a really intimate experience that we really enjoyed. And we told our immediate family a few days beforehand that this is what we were planning to do. And then we told friends and family by mail a couple weeks later with a postcard. Before I get started with the 6 reasons I chose not to have a wedding, I want to remind you that this was a personal decision. I'm not attacking anyone who has had a wedding or is planning a wedding. We all make our own personal decisions in life, and we all write our own stories in life. So this is a reminder that this was personal to me, and I'm simply sharing my story and the reasons why I chose not to have a wedding, because it does go against some cultural norms. The first reason I chose not to have a wedding, it was never my dream to have a wedding. Now, I know a lot of people grow up and little girls pretend to walk down the aisle and play dress up and are looking forward to a big wedding day. And personally, that was not my experience growing up. My mom and my dad did not get married with a traditional wedding. They also had a civil ceremony where a judge came to their home and married them. And my parents talked about this, especially my mom, who shared photos of it and talked about how she made the intentional choice of either having a wedding, a car, or a house. And she chose to have a house instead of a wedding. And this allowed them to grow a little more financially stable as parents. And my dad was able to retire in his early 50s. My mom was able to stay home or have their own small businesses. And it was something that, growing up in this environment, I never dreamed of having a big wedding. I never dreamed of having a wedding day at all. And I think this played a role in why I chose not to have a wedding as an adult. The second reason I chose not to have a wedding is for financial freedom, both for us and for our wedding guests. Now, the average cost of a wedding in the United States is between $20,000 and $30,000, or about $300 per guest. And that's the average. I know people that have spent double this cost on a wedding before. And I also know people who have had intimate family weddings where it's, immediate family only, and it still spent over $10,000. And it was a big financial commitment to have a wedding. The average cost for a bridesmaid or groomsman in the United States is $1,500 to $2,000 between the wedding, the travel, the gifts, everything combined. If you're thinking, why didn't your parents offer to pay for a wedding? Now, first, we are in our 30s as adults, high income earners. We would never ask our parents to pay for a wedding. My parents would also not encourage this type of philosophy. My parents always prioritize financial commitments that are a little bit more high priority, like having an education or having a roof over your head. So it's something that we would never ask for, or we would never want them to pay for a wedding either. If you're not familiar with our financial freedom journey, you can also watch this video on how we paid off our student loans and how we went debt-free before marriage. The next reason I chose not to have a wedding is because I value experiences and quality experiences over the quantity of experiences. Now, in my personal opinion, a wedding day is a one-time event. It lasts a few hours, and typically it's produced for the quantity of people there versus the quality of time together. And this is a generalization, but typically that means that the bride and groom barely get to say a few words to each guest at the wedding, and there's many different guests from a lot of different walks of life that don't know each other, and it's the quantity of people there for a few hours or a half-day event. Instead, a quality experience to me means spending time, a week together as a family unit, traveling together. For instance, we are spending a week together in Hawaii as a family unit, and this is going to be a really quality experience where you can build memories together over 7 days versus having a really high-stressed one-day event for family or friends. The next reason I chose not to have a wedding is the time spent planning a wedding is extraordinary. Either you plan the wedding yourself or you hire someone to help you plan it. And since my husband is not a planner, that burden would mostly fall on me to do the planning. And I chose that the time commitment was not a great return on investment of our most valuable resource, which is time. We never get our time back. So planning something related to a wedding was not something that I viewed as really beneficial with how I spent my time over a year-long process. I decided that planning a wedding was not the best return on investment versus investing in my businesses or adding value to our community here on YouTube and the podcast. And it's something that taking 6 to 12 months to plan a wedding was not a high priority. And I decided that, if I want to invest my time elsewhere, it's better spent. I know some of you may disagree with this statement in terms of the time commitment, and we all spend our minutes, our hours, our days differently in life. And I view that time is our most valuable resource. It's something that we never get back. And I treat it as a very valuable quality type of resource. So for me personally, that meant the benefit was not outweighing the time commitment, but for other people, it does outweigh it. The next reason I chose not to have a wedding is because a wedding is a milestone type of event, whereas a marriage is a lifetime commitment to one another. A lot of times when we focus so much time and so much energy on planning a wedding, it can be really easy to forget what it actually means. A wedding day is an event, a one-time event, and a marriage is building a life together. I've seen and read about how there's so much letdown after the wedding day, and there's even been research and studies done where up to half of women feel depressed after their wedding day because it's leading up to this big event, it happens, and then it's over with, and it's not a big focus on what kind of life you're creating together during that marriage stage. My husband and I talk about this in our weekly joy check, in our marriage journal, which we started before we were ever married. We were talking about big topics that were really important to be on the same page about, between marriage and our value systems, to our financial health, to future children, to religion and politics. These were big topics to be on the same page about, and we ended up being on the same page about not having a wedding day. I also think it's really interesting how women in the United States celebrate really big milestones like wedding days over everything else in life, whether it's a woman opening their own small business or a woman celebrating their financial freedom and confidence in life. Those are also big things to be celebrating and, sharing as big wins here as women. The next reason I chose not to have a wedding is because of the markup on everything related to the industry. Here in the United States, it's really focused on consumeristic type behavior, and everything related to the wedding and engagement industry has a markup on it. Anytime you say something's related to a wedding or engagement, the price just continues to increase. And we experienced this firsthand. My husband decided to propose at the end of a photo shoot. It was a photo shoot that was included in our hotel stay. And once he said he was going to propose at the end of it, he paid an additional fee for it. It was no different type of photo shoot than any other photo shoot, except that he said it was an engagement at the end. Same thing with jewelers and florists and food industry. Typically anything that has wedding in it would have a different price point than not. To ensure that I didn't get a markup on this, when I went to go buy my engagement and wedding band from the jeweler, I didn't say it was an engagement or wedding band. Yes, I bought my engagement ring myself. It's this ring that I wear here. It's a simple band. It's something that I ended up using for our engagement. I gave the ring to my husband, my now husband, to use when he decided he wanted to propose. I got to choose what I wanted. It was a choice that I made so that there was no unintentional purchases of something that I didn't really love. And my engagement ring is my wedding band. I don't need a second ring. It's a simple thing to wear, and I don't need to be afraid of losing a big diamond in the middle of it, especially working in healthcare. What is the number one reason I chose not to have a wedding? The opportunity cost of having a wedding. Now, most marriages in the United States end because of unmet expectations. A large percentage end related to financial well-being, and then some end because of children or politics or religion. And these were big topics we discussed before marriage. I chose that financial freedom was more important than having a one-day type of event as a wedding. After paying off massive student loan debt, we wanted to go into our marriage debt-free. And yes, we could have paid for a wedding out of pocket, but it's something that we chose to put that money towards financial freedom for ourselves and our future family together. Whether that's having a roof over our heads or not having our children incur as much debt as we did, or having more of an eco-friendly living environment and being able to spend quality time on experiences as a family unit, meaning that we either can retire early or have more time off to spend with our children, were more important than the one-day event we could have spent that same money on. What are your thoughts on cultivating a strong and lasting marriage together? Did you have a wedding day that you loved? Please share with us in the comments. We all write our own stories in our life, and we can all bring joy into everyday life. Make sure you're taking action, downloading our resources, and watching our other financial freedom videos. Until next time, cultivate joy.